Hello and welcome to Tom's World Coin Hunts, where today we're starting a new series to commemorate 10 episodes of World Coin Hunts. This series will be called Country Spotlight, where we'll be taking a closer look at the coins of specific countries and learning a bit more about their designs. So, as you may be able to tell already, today we'll be starting with Australia and New Zealand, two countries that do share some things in common. Here are 5 coins. These are all of the coins that I have found in my world coin hunts, and you may be thinking, Tom, that's not enough coins. How are you going to do an entire video about Australian and New Zealand coinage with just 5 coins? Well, don't fear, dear viewer, I have something to help me out. Ta-da! Here I have 2 uncirculated coin sets. As you can see, the one on the right is a 1972 issue of New Zealand coins. The one on the left is a little bit worse for wear, but this is a 1970 uncirculated coin set from Australia. We'll take a quick peek, but I will be going through them in a lot of detail in this video, so feel free to pause, rewind, take notes, whatever you want to get from this video. So here in the Australian coin set, here are the coins in question. Sorry if the lighting's a bit weird. They have toned a bit, but they are still in great condition. And here is the official description of the coins. Feel free to pause and have a read. And I'll show you the obverses quickly as well. They're all the same obverse, obviously, because they're from the same year. But don't worry, I'll be going through it all in a lot more detail shortly. And here is the New Zealand coin set. Okay. Again, a little bit toned, but these are 50 years old, so yeah. And there's even a special commemorative $1 coin, but again, we'll get back to that later. And I'll show you the descriptions later as well. A quick bit of history before we get started talking about the designs. Before they switched to their decimal dollar systems, they both had their own pounds, shillings and pence systems similar to the UK. Australia switched from pounds to their decimal dollar in 1966, and New Zealand was slightly behind, switching to their decimal dollar in 1967. And before we get started talking about the reverse designs, which in my opinion are more interesting, let's talk about the obverse designs. As you would expect, Australia and New Zealand use a portrait of the Queen on the obverse of their coins, just like in the UK, and they actually generally use the same portraits that we do. They both started on the Arnold Machin's second portrait of the Queen, and Australia used this portrait up until 1984, whereas New Zealand used it up until 1985. After the Arnold Machin portrait came the Raphael David McLuth third portrait that we're familiar with. Australia used this from 1985 to 1998, and New Zealand used it from 1986 to 1998. And then obviously we move on to the Ian Rank Broadley fourth portrait that most of you UK viewers will be familiar with. Australia used this design up until 2019, whereas New Zealand actually still uses that portrait to this day. After 2019, Australia switched to the Jodie Clark sixth portrait, which we in the UK aren't particularly familiar with. We don't have that on our coins. We have Jodie Clark's fifth portrait. But on the screen you can see Jodie Clark's sixth portrait, so you know what that looks like. Okay, now let's talk about the coins. So we'll start with New Zealand. In this coin set we can see denominations 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 and 50 cents, and then this $1 coin. Now when New Zealand switched to their decimal system in 1967, they introduced all these denominations up to 50 cents. But this $1 coin, if you are familiar with New Zealand currency, is not their circulating $1 coin. In fact, New Zealand didn't issue a $1 circulating coin up until 1991, when they introduced a $2 coin at the same time. But they did issue commemorative non-circulating $1 coins before that. So if you want to learn more about this particular issue of the $1 coin, take a read of that. Obviously you can pause to read, and I'm going to continue now. So 1 cent up to 50 cents. What else is new? Well, actually the first issue of the 10 cents, similar to the UK, 10 cents was equivalent to 1 shilling in the pre-decimal system, and on the reverse of the design it was this design, but it also said 1 shilling at the bottom of the coin. New Zealand have also taken their 1 cent and 2 cent coins out of circulation back in 1990, and actually they also no longer use their 5 cent coin. 10 cents is the smallest denomination currently circulating in New Zealand. In fact, in 2006 they redesigned all of the coins that were still in circulation, as well as removing the 5 cent coin to make them smaller and cheaper to make. In fact, the 10 cent coin is now a copper-plated steel design, and the 20 cent and 50 cents retain their silvery colour but are smaller. Okay, now let's talk about the actual designs. So, here we have the official descriptions, if you would like to pause and read that, but I will be giving my own descriptions and hopefully they'll be just as good. So, the 1 cent coin is a silver fern. The silver fern is a medium-sized tree fern native to New Zealand. It is also one of the most widely recognised symbols of New Zealand, used in politics, business, sport, and was a popular theme in flag proposals in the 2015 flag referendum. And the 2 cent coin features the kowhai flowers. Kowhai trees are native to New Zealand and grow throughout the country. Flowers have a distinctive yellow colour and are widely regarded as New Zealand's national flower. Now let's move on to the 5 cent coin. The 5 cent coin features the tuatara. Tuatara are a species of reptile from New Zealand that look like lizards, but are actually from a different lineage. The 10 cent coin features a Maori koruru. The koruru is the carving of a face of an ancestor in Maori culture. It is typically fixed to the front apex of a wharenui, which is a type of communal house. Something I didn't mention before was that in 1990 the 20 cent coin features a change in design, because in 1991 the $1 and $2 coins were released, and the $1 coin was decided to feature the kiwi and the silver fern. So, in order to not have two coins with similar designs, the 20 cent coin was changed. But let's start off with this design, that also a similar design is featured on the $1 coin. This features the kiwi bird, which is a flightless bird native to New Zealand and approximately the size of a domestic chicken. It is another popular icon of New Zealand, so popular that the term Kiwi is used internationally as a demonym for New Zealanders. The new design features pukaki, which is, specifically the Maori carving of Pukaki, an 18th century chief of a Maori tribe. Then we have the 50 cent coin, which features the HMS Endeavour and Mount Taranaki. HMS Endeavour was a British Royal Navy research vessel that James Cook sailed to Australia and New Zealand on his first voyage of discovery. The mountain, Mount Taranaki, is on the west coast of New Zealand's North Island, but when James Cook saw it, he named it Mount Egmont after the second Earl of Egmont. Okay, and as we mentioned, the $1 coin features the silver fern and kiwi, which is something we've already discussed. So let's move on to the $2 coin. The $2 coin features the eastern great egret, or kotuku, in Maori. It is a white heron that can be found in New Zealand as well as across Asia and other parts of Oceania. So those are the definitive coins of New Zealand. As you saw in the set, they also released commemorative coins, usually uncirculated though. In fact, there's only ever been 2 commemorative coins released for circulation in New Zealand, both on 50 cent coins. The first was the Spirit of Anzac in 2015, and the second was the centenary of the 1918 armistice in 2018. So, now we've seen New Zealand's coins, let's take a look at Australia's coins. So let's take a look in the Australian book. So here are the official descriptions once again. If you want to take a pause and read them, here's another opportunity. But here are the coins. So when Australia switched to decimal in 1966, they introduced these coins from 1 cent up to 20 cents. The 50 cent, well, this 12-sided 50 cent was only introduced in 1969. In 1966 they did have a 50-cent coin, but it was round and made of 80% silver. But it's quickly became more valuable than its face value and didn't last very long. So yes, in 1969 they introduced the 12-sided 50-cent coin. However, this is a commemorative design, which we'll get into later. This isn't the definitive design. Beyond this, they also introduced a $1 coin in 1984 and a $2 coin in 1988. And just like New Zealand, they have removed their 1 cent and 2 cent coins from circulation. They did this in 1991. However, they do still have their 5 cent coin in circulation. So now, let's get into the actual designs. So here we have the 1 cent coin, which I have discussed a little bit in my coin hunt videos. This is a feather-tailed glider, which is a species of marsupial native to Eastern Australia. It's also known as the flying mouse, and it's the world's smallest gliding mammal. And here is the 2 cent coin. This is the frill-necked lizard, a species of lizard native to Northern Australia and Southern New Guinea. A frill-necked lizard named Lizzie was the mascot for the 2000 Summer Paralympic Games and reappeared as the mascot for the Australian 2020 Paralympic team. The 5 cent coin is another coin I have talked about a little bit in my old coin hunts. This is an echidna. Echidnas, I think that's how you pronounce it, maybe I'm wrong, are egg-laying mammals that live in Australia and New Guinea. And just like the frill-necked lizard, the echidna was a mascot in the 2020 Sydney Olympics. It was an echidna named Millie. And here's the 10 cent coin, which features the superb lyrebird, one of the world's largest songbirds and native to the forests of southeastern Australia. It's famous for its sophisticated vocal skills and mimicry. And here is the 20 cent coin. An animal that I think most people are familiar with. This is the platypus, a venomous semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal from eastern Australia. It's legally protected species in all of its home states and is culturally significant to several Aboriginal peoples of Australia. And here is the 50 cent coin in this set. As I mentioned before, this is not the definitive design, but actually a commemorative design. It celebrates the bicentenary of the voyage of James Cook along the eastern coast of Australia. It features his portrait, his signature, and his route around the coast. Now let's take a look at the definitive design for the 50 cent coin. This features the coat of arms of Australia, which has a shield depicting Australia's 6 states, held up by a kangaroo and an emu, with the 7-pointed Commonwealth star above it, which represents the 6 states, with an extra point to represent territories and any future states. Now let's take a look at the $1 coin. This design is nicknamed the Mob of Roos. It features 5 kangaroos, which are a marsupial indigenous to Australia and New Guinea. They're very important to Australian culture and the national image, with them being in the coat of arms, the image of their flag-carrying airline Qantas, and on the roundel of the Royal Australian Air Force. Now let's have a look at the $2 coin. The $2 coin features an Aboriginal elder and the Southern Cross. The Aboriginal elder, while not intended to depict any person in particular, was inspired by a portrait of Gwoya Chungurai, also known as £1 Jimmy, an Aboriginal man from the Northern Territory who survived the Coniston Massacre. So actually Australia has a lot of commemorative coins, much more than New Zealand. Obviously New Zealand only has the 2 circulating designs. Australia has many circulating designs and on a lot of denominations as well. Commemorative issues have been featured on the 20 cent, 50 cent, dollar and $2 coins. But also in 2016, the 5 cent and 10 cent coins also had a commemorative design, along with all the rest of the denominations, to celebrate 50 years of decimal currency. And as a little treat to thank you for watching this video, I actually do have one commemorative Australian coin to show you. Here's another coin I got off of eBay. This is a $2 coin to commemorate the Australian Ambulance Services. So let's see if we can take a closer look. You can see that. As you can see, there's even a little bit of colour in the centre of the coin, which I think is pretty cool. And I'll show you the obverse as well. That is the Jodie Clark's 6th portrait, which I showed you earlier. And that brings us to an end of my first country spotlight. This video was an experience to make. It was very different from my usual videos, and it was interesting to learn about the history and the designs of these coins. Let me know if you learned something new and if you enjoyed this style of video, and also leave a comment if there's a country you'd like to see me do in the future. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.